Hello again. About the use of the term fundamentalist evangelical. I only used it because I think I noticed in a couple different videos of yours that you had identified yourself with the same term. I would have to go through the videos to try to find that out. But I didn't mean it as a pejorative. In fact, I meant the use of the term fundamentalist in what it has meant in the past, rather than simply an extremist. There were kind of five fundamental tenets, which refer to as fundamentals, which were brought about by the Doctrinal Deliverance of 1910 by the Presbyterian Church in the USA. And this is the result of a movement which kind of started at the end of the 19th century and into the beginning of the 20th century as a response to theological liberalism. And the five fundamentals were the inerrancy of Scripture, the virgin birth of Jesus Christ, substitutionary atonement, so the Orthodox would have an issue with that one, a bodily resurrection, and a reality of Jesus' miracles. So those were considered the five fundamentals. If you adhered to all five of those, you would be considered a fundamentalist. So that's that. And I have noticed on YouTube, compared to my time as a fundamentalist evangelical, that there's been a change of definitions when it comes to the use of the word moderate. See, I think that you are using the word moderate in the way that I use the word moderate while I was a fundamentalist. Being someone who still held fundamental belief, but kind of were more moderate in the practice of that belief, I suppose. Not so hateful and not so trying to force other people into coercing into your belief system. And, I can relate to, even though theologically I was very conservative, I was considered the liberal of the group because I was actually against the Proposition 8 legislation because I believed that the government should not be involved in the institution of marriage, and I was also considered a liberal because I didn't believe in the phenomenon of the rapture, that there's going to be some separate event where God zaps his people out. I don't think that the New Testament teaches that. I think that it says that the second coming of Christ is going to be finito, the end. Now, back to your reply about hell. I won't deny that the Jewish concept of the end of time and the punishment of people in Gehenna is punitive, but it's temporary. And the purpose of the punishment is purification so that they can enter the Jewish heaven themselves. See, they don't really have a doctrine of hell. It's actually more similar to the now Roman Catholic doctrine of purgatory. And I see that being consistent with the idea that God needs to punish sinners, but at the same time, he is a loving God. I see that in contrast to the idea of people being punished forever. A little about the evolution of hell and ancient justifications for its existence. And this is still, the ideas behind hell are still pretty fluid at this point. I am going to link to Superfly's video about hell. I think that it's also very informative. In the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, not only is there no idea of hell, There's also very little idea of an afterlife whatsoever. You know, you're only going to find passages in 37 out of the 39 books that when people die, everyone goes to Sheol, which is kind of the underworld, the place of the dead. And everybody goes there, and you don't return, and there's no praise of God there. And the writer of the book of Ecclesiastes, you know, very explicitly believes that it's pretty much just death. That's what it's referring to. So I'll go ahead and link to my video about Ecclesiastes and the afterlife. But the ideas about hell and the afterlife seem to have started getting into evolutionary overdrive around the time apocalyptic writings started showing up. You know, there's one little passage in Isaiah, and there's a bit at the end of the book of Daniel, the apocalyptic later part of the book of Daniel, which I'll mention later. But I wanted to mention, as a little background for a Jewish justification for eternal punishment, some selections from the book of Enoch. This is from the book of Enoch, chapter 20, verse 2. Uriel, one of the holy angels who is over the world and over Tartarus. Tartarus is actually originally a Greek concept, and it's part of the Greek underworld, Hades, which is a place of punishment. So that's actually found its way into the book of Enoch. Uriel is important. Okay, this is from the book of Enoch, chapter 21. I'm starting around verse 7. And from thence I went to another place, which was still more horrible than the former, and I saw a horrible thing, a great fire there which burnt and blazed, and the place was cleft as far as the abyss, being full of great descending columns of fire. Neither its extent or magnitude could I see, nor could I conjecture. Then I said, how fearful is the place, and how terrible to look upon. Then Uriel answered me, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, Enoch, why hast thou such fear and affright? And I answered, because of this fearful place, and because of the spectacle of the pain. And he said unto me, this place is the prison of angels, and here they will be imprisoned forever.